Thank you for tuning in to our pre-recorded presentation for the Willows Neighbourhood Concept Plan. We would like to recognize that the recording of this presentation is taking place on Treaty 6 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis. My name is Leanne DeLong, and I'm a planner with the Planning and Development Division at the City of Saskatoon. Due to COVID and other extenuating circumstances, the live information meeting that was originally set for December 15th, 2020 has been postponed in order to provide ample time for all interested residents to be able to participate. We want to hear from you, and as such, we'll be hosting a live formal public information session in January to answer your questions, obtain your feedback, and continue the dialogue. In the meantime, we are here to listen and to answer any questions you may have. Once the date for the live presentation has been set, it will be posted on our Engage page and notification will be provided. Contact information can also be found on our Engage page and will be provided for you at the end of this presentation. The following presentation is intended to provide background information regarding an amendment application submitted by Dream Developments to the Willows Neighbourhood Concept Plan. This is the start of a conversation that we look forward to having with you. Joining me on this pre-recorded presentation is Anastasia Conley, who will be giving a summary on the changes being proposed and technical details on the process of applying to amend an approved neighborhood concept plan. Also joining the recording is Brad Zervinsky, General Manager of Dream Developments, who will give a summary on Dream's vision for Phase 2 of the Willows Neighborhood Concept Plan. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Anastasia.
Hello. As Leanne noted, my name is Anastasia, and I am a planner with the City of Saskatoon Planning and Development Department. The City received an application from Dream Developments for an amendment to the Willows Neighbourhood Concept Plan. The original Willows Neighbourhood Concept Plan was adopted by City Council in 2003 and included 2 phases. Next slide, please. A neighbourhood concept plan is a neighbourhood-level land use plan that guides the development of a neighbourhood in Saskatoon. Concept plans are developed so that we, as a community, have a clear understanding of the city's urban form and structure. Approved concept plans prescribe the development vision and servicing framework for a defined area and are required for large-scale developments such as the Willows. These plans are reviewed by city administration and other relevant agencies to ensure that all relevant standards, policies, bylaws, and requirements are met. The review process includes community engagement to obtain feedback that shapes the final plan. A neighbourhood concept plan must be approved by a resolution of City Council, and once adopted, changes must also be approved by City Council. The build-out of the community through zoning and subdivision can only occur in conformance with an approved concept plan. Next slide, please. When an application to amend a neighbourhood concept plan is received by Planning and Development, it is reviewed for conformance with the official community plan, zoning bylaw, and other applicable city planning policies and development regulations. It is also circulated to other civic departments to review technical considerations such as the capacity of water, wastewater, stormwater, and transportation infrastructure to accommodate the proposal. Once internal review by the relevant civic departments is complete, public engagement on the application is undertaken. The following public engagement, Planning and Development prepares a report that includes a recommendation on the proposed amendments and outlines information collected from the internal review and public engagement process. This report is first considered by Municipal Planning Commission, which is an advisory committee to City Council, and the final decision to approve or deny the amendment rests with City Council. Next slide, please. Council approved the current concept plan for the Willows neighbourhood in 2003. At that time, the official community plan was amended to include the new land use form, which acknowledges the unique needs of golf course communities, while also adding additional regulations not typically found in the urban context. This included larger lot sizes, typically seen in golf course communities, a direct control zoning district to ensure predictable development form and land use, and residential units were required to be developed as part of a larger Bearland condominium plan. This meant that all roads except for Cartwright Street were private roads, and services for private properties are provided through the condominium associations, including services such as street cleaning, snow clearing, and street maintenance. This also allowed for the condominium associations to dictate the level of service provided, instead of the standard city level service that is provided across the city. The approved concept plan was set up as 2 development phases. The first phase is in the eastern portion of the Willows and can be seen on the screen on the right. This development phase is nearly complete. The first phase of development has a current population of 710 people according to the 2016 census, and an approved population estimate of approximately 956 people. The second phase is located in the western half of the neighborhood, and construction has not begun. On the screen, you can see what the approved layout for this development is on the left. Development for Phase 2 was approved under the same regulations as Phase 1 of the Willows. Both phases include a mix of single detached and low and medium density multiple unit dwellings. The second phase is currently approved for a population of approximately 722 people. The total population for the approved Willows Neighbourhood Concept Plan is an estimated 1,678 people. Next slide, please. The amendment proposes a reconfiguration of the street network and lots, including a reduction to the allowable lot size from 18 meters wide and a site area of 630 meters squared to 13.7 meters wide and a site area of 540 meters squared. The proposed changes continue to include a mix of residential densities, single detached, and medium density multiple unit dwellings. The proposal also adds a 7.4 hectare triangular parcel to the north of the neighborhood. It also includes an increase in the proposed density. For Phase 2, the proposed density would be 1,713 people. This would bring the neighborhood total estimated population to approximately 2,669 people at complete build-out. This is approximately an increase of 991 people. The amendment also provides for the addition of new land uses, commercial and mixed-use commercial, with the vision that these uses be complementary and to the scale of a golf course community, such as a hotel, spa, retail, and other appropriate services. This change would also be regulated through the direct control zoning district. This amendment provides opportunity for fee simple lots to be located in Phase 2, which is separately titled lots that are not incorporated into a condominium. Brad will provide more detailed information on the vision for this proposal during his presentation. Next slide, please. The proposed changes would require the following amendments. The official community plan provides a comprehensive policy framework to guide the physical, environmental, economic, social, and cultural development of a municipality. The official community plan will require an amendment to the land use map to incorporate the addition of the large triangular parcel north of the Willows neighborhood boundary and to change the line work within the map. The official community plan will also require an amendment to the text to expand the range of types of commercial development, while still ensuring that that commercial development is complementary to and of a scale appropriate to the golf course community. In addition to the amendment for the official community plan, the proposal also requires amendments to the zoning bylaw, Direct Control Zoning District 4, which regulates all development within the Willows neighborhood. Amendments to the Direct Control District would include changes to the minimum lot width, minimum lot area, and new regulations to accommodate additional forms of commercial and mixed-use development. All amendments must be considered by Council, who has the ability to approve amendments as presented, approve amendments with changes, or to deny the amendment. Next slide, please. After this information presentation, Administration will continue to accept comments on the proposal. Comments received during this time will determine next steps. A public information meeting will be held in January, and opportunities for further engagement on the proposal are being evaluated. Once public consultation on the proposal has concluded, a report will be presented to Municipal Planning Commission with administration's recommendation. Administration will base the recommendation on the referral comments received during the circulation of the concept plan to all civic review groups and on the comments received during public consultation. Following Municipal Planning Commission, there will be a public hearing, at which time Council will deliberate on the amendment. This concludes administration's presentation. Brad Zervinsky will now present on the proposal.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the introduction, and welcome to everyone who's tuning in to the Willows presentation. I'd just like to start off with an image rendering rather of kind of what the existing Willows is, and then just kind of showing what that potential Willows concept plan would be in the back, and just really to highlight the fact that the development that we're seeking to propose within this area is very similar and in the same alignment as the existing Willows. And we're hoping that within this fabric that we can add some very good amenities and some nice uses to the Willows overall community, and also create a golf course that is sustainable well into the future. Next slide, please. It feels a little bit redundant, but we have just a graphic showing the location of the Willows, which is the far south edge of the city of Saskatoon. Next slide, please. And then just a little bit more discussion further to what Anna mentioned with regards to the existing plan from 2003 and then the proposed plan. We'll get into a lot more of the specifics and details of the proposed plan through the next several slides, but what I would like to highlight within this slide is just the existing plan and the land uses that are currently shown on that. And one of the things that's very evident to see is that the residential areas provided within phase 2 of this plan are quite disjointed and separate from that of the existing Willows phase 1. And with that, both of the access egress points to that area are solely off of Lorne Avenue and provide no connection, whether it's pedestrian or vehicular, from that new phase back towards the clubhouse and the existing areas, and then some of the amenities that we currently have at the Willows. Looking over to the right side with the proposed plan, that is one of the main changes we've made to the concept plan's road layout, and provide a nice circular roadway providing access both for vehicles and primarily pedestrians as well, back from the existing areas of the Willows and the new areas back towards that clubhouse central node where we see some of those other uses. So with that in mind, we'll kind of discuss a bit more of the new proposed plan in greater detail with the next slides. Just one more thing to highlight some of the previous engagement we've done just within the context of the Willows in general. Throughout the last several years, we've engaged a group called Global Golf Associates, and one of their primary mandates was to look at the Willows operation and the clubhouse that we have there as it relates to the golf course, and look at better sustainable ways that we could be operating that golf course for its current and future success. And as part of that, we've done several engagement opportunities just to kind of talk with the residents over the years to see what kind of future amenities they would like to see as part of like a rebranded Willow. So with that, we've done several surveys both in 2016 and 17. We've also formed a Willows Advisory Committee in 2017, and that committee was primarily tasked with looking at different things as it relates to the current operations that the Willows had over the last several years, and also use as a sounding board for any future changes to the Willows concept that we will be discussing today. And plans of along this nature were shared with that group on an earlier time period. The other thing that we've done proactively is have a press release rather, when we released the concept plan to the city for review back in May of 2018. With that, an email was sent to all golfers and residents that we had access to at the time, as well as Star Phoenix and CTV articles about the plan. And what that plan was there to show is just kind of how the Willows was proposed to be changing from a 27-hole course over to an 18-hole golf course at the recommendations largely of our golf course consultants. Next slide, please. As we get into more of the plan, I just want to highlight some of the main components, and Anna touched on a lot of these recently herself, but One of the main design concepts that we want to make sure we maintain is that the housing form that we're carrying on with in the new phases of the Willows is complementary in style with that of the existing neighborhood. So the estate and semi-estate style housing that we have in the existing Willows would be the same continuation that we would expect in the newer phases of the Willows. Another aspect that is noteworthy and to highlight is the fact that we've engaged Doug Carrick to design our golf course. And there's another slide coming up shortly that kind of details a bit more of Doug's background, but he's a very renowned golf course architect, and we were very happy to have him on board to help us design this course. One of the other changes or modifications is that of the commercial and mixed use sites that we have located just to the north of the clubhouse. And again, as mentioned, these are aimed to be complementary with the residents and the golfers and offer additional amenities that we can't really offer through the clubhouse itself. And as I'll bring up in a future slide, the name commercial or mixed use is, I guess, is very general in nature, and what we're looking at doing with these sites is something very much more specific and very much more tailored to the residents of the Willows. The next thing to highlight as another change would be the introduction of additional park spaces within the Willows, and we'll detail that out as well in the future. Next slide, please. So again, on Mr. Doug Carrick, we've engaged him throughout the last several years to help us with the golf course design and have a design that is very high quality, not only in its aesthetic nature, but also on the future maintenance ability of the course. And one of the things that we're really looking to achieve with moving to an 18-hole golf course was, again, of the recommendations of both Mr. Carrick and our advisors. And the main focus is to make sure that the course itself is sustainable now into the future, and that we have a very high level of golf course that is there for the residents to view and also for the playing members as well. I won't read it everything that is shown on Doug's contribution to the presentation, but he is aimed to make it a very high quality course and has the residential in mind as part of this plan. Next slide, please. And again, just to highlight some of Doug's credentials, he's been a part of countless award-winning courses in Canada and North America. One of the most notably is the Ridge at Predator Ridge in BC. Next slide, please. So again, I would like to just talk a bit more specifically about the commercial and mixed use areas, something that we would understand would be cause of some concern, and we want to talk through that with everyone as much as possible. So to start with the commercial land use, the purple shade on the north side of the clubhouse, the vision for this area is not such a unfettered commercial development by any stretch, and it's more tailored to a very specific land use that we would like to try to achieve, and that being a Nordic spa that is likely kind of an adult only kind of area in conjunction with a hotel and some other uses alongside that. So when we talk about fitness and wellness, those are all kind of uses that might be kind of built into that overall Nordic spa experience. That is something that would hopefully be unique to the province of Saskatchewan and definitely to the City of Saskatoon and the Willows. The other mixed use area to the left side of that would be also something that we would envision building out more so as medium density multifamily within the other kind of areas towards the north, but also providing for the provision of a at-grade retail mixed-use building which would face onto the clubhouse. And some of the uses that we would envision here would again be complementary to both the residents and the golfers of the Willows. And these might be things like a walk-up coffee shop or sandwich bar, a physiotherapist or massage, or something that is definitely seen as a benefit and amenity to the existing residents of the Willows and the future residents as well. And the vision is really to use this area to bolster and foster that sense of community that's already very strong at the Willows. One other thing I'll note, just as it relates to the commercial piece, is our attention to the boundary between where the existing residents are and where the main uses are proposed of that site. It's our plan to leave a strip of trees definitely along the north boundary of that are not part of any development of that site, and have that design be very sorry, my computer is doing something different. Sorry about that. The design of that site would be very considerate of where the existing residents are to make sure any buildings are placed in a way that is sympathetic to that. So there's some great thought that will be going into that site, and we would look forward to discussing that with anyone as well. Next slide, please. I think another thing we're excited about bringing to the Willows is the introduction of additional park space. And this is something that is more unique, I guess, in a sense. The Willows is a golf course, and obviously there's lots of green space around. But one of the things that we could look at incorporating more so is that of more programmed or semi-programmed park space, more directly related to residents rather than golfers. So with that, we've proposed several parks in conjunction with the new Willows area, two of which would house play structures as kind of an informal programming area for grandkids or kids of the residential areas around here. And also the provision for a multi-purpose field and something that could be used informally or potentially formally for any sporting activities, and that would be located on the south edge of the plan. One of the other areas that we really want to highlight going forward, and something that people are already taking advantage of, is the walking trails. And right now there's, I would call it more of an informal walking trail or road that extends around the outside edge of the Willows. And what we'd like to do is formalize this path and improve it such that it is more utilized by the existing residents and the future residents of the Willows. Another thing to note is the fact that we have other paths that would lead from the Willows itself over to the clubhouse and that central node via a path system, such that you could use passive modes of transportation rather than a car if you wanted to go to any of those locations within the center of the plan. With that, we're also looking at bolstering just our amenity mix and our offering for residents at the clubhouse itself, and having more of a focus on winter city objectives. And with that, what we're looking to do in the future is maybe formalize more skating opportunities and cross-country skiing opportunities, and like to really bolster just our amenity offering with the Willows residents around that. And one of the things we've done even more recently is start plowing some of those cross-country ski trails as early as last week. So it's another big focus of ours, is kind of the overall open space throughout the community. Next slide, please. Another thing to discuss would be the transportation network, and the previous slide related a bit more towards passive transportation, walking and cycling with that outside trail and whatnot, but this slide will focus a bit more on the vehicular transportation. So we've commissioned a traffic study of the site that takes into account the new uses of the Willows and how the different land uses relate to one another. And that does show an increase in traffic, and because of that, we're prepared and have the provision to include signal lights at Clarence Avenue and Cartwright, and again at Lorne and Cartwright if in the future. Another new transportation addition to alleviate some of the traffic from the Willows is a right-out connection that extends from the new phase of the Willows over to Lorne Avenue. And this is planned as a right-out only to allow residents from this portion of the Willows to exit onto Lorne Avenue and go north and towards the city, where the main traffic would be generated to and from. But it would also prevent neighborhood shortcutting from vehicles heading northbound on Lorne Avenue from turning right into the Willows and then shortcutting through the existing area. So it's planned as a right out to minimize shortcutting, but also alleviate traffic within that is caused from the development itself. Another thing to note as it relates to the trip generation is the change in the golf course and its utilization. As we mentioned before, the proposed plan would be to transition the Willows golf course from the current 27 holes today to an 18-hole golf course, largely done to make sure that the Willows is successful as far as its operations now to the future as golf courses continue to change. And with that, it comes a little bit of a different dynamic as it relates to just traffic generation in general. And with that change in golf course operation style, we would see less tournament play and less large events related to that golf course that we currently see. And what that does is actually take off some traffic and take off some trips that are normally seen throughout the summer months as the Willows spikes up for some of those large tournaments. So with a different focus on more member play and resident play at the Willows, we'll likely see a drop off of tournaments, and that will have a relationship with the trip generation of the golf course in all. So with that being said, all study area intersections that were analyzed with the traffic study operate at a level of service A within the full build out of the neighborhood. One other thing to note for the passive transportation is a new trail connection as well that would extend from the Willows along Cartwright Street on the north side over towards Lorne Avenue, connect with a multi-use trailer or bike lane on that road and connect north into the city as well. Next slide, please. Policy updates. So Anna did a great job of highlighting the differences that were proposed within this area, but again, to reiterate, the proposal does include fee simple single family areas for the new phase of the Willows itself. We've also made modifications or proposals to that modification for the DCD4 to reduce the minimum lot size from 60 down to 45 meters. This is largely done just as most lots in the city over the last 15-20 years have been slowly reduced in size with the different changes of different circumstances with how lots are created within the city. So we would still expect to see lots that are much larger than in other areas of the city. And just to highlight that, in the new phase, what the plan would be would have lots range from about 53 to 75 feet wide, and larger in some areas if it's requested by the builder group or by future residents. So it's something that we're very cognizant about. We want to make sure that the new proposed area of the Willows is in the same context as the existing with the lot size and the estate homes. So that is something that we'll be taking very seriously going forward, and we'll make sure that we achieve. The other thing that was noted already before is the inclusion of the mixed-use commercial area within the official community plan and some of the land use language within that document that would need to be changed to allow these uses and these amenities to be brought forward to the Willows. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Let's give it one more second to see if the slide changes over. Not seeing the change, I'll just kind of continue on with just some of the other things I wanted to highlight with regards to the plan, and maybe the slides will catch up to us as we go. But the next slide was again more around renderings and different visual representations of what the new area could look like in context with the existing. And one of the things that we wanted to highlight as part of that was just the location where the new single family would be proposed to be in around the Xena 8 hole. So the closest distance from back of lot to back of lot of the existing area in that area is about 119 meters, and it widens out to be about 165, 170 meters further north along that area. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we're very cognizant about is the views. And within that area, I'd just like to highlight that there is the golf hole itself and then a very large berm with trees that are planted on top of that would alleviate any views that might be problematic. And it's very important to us that we keep all the trees that we possibly can through this rebuild of the Willows. And along that line with the golf course, we'll also be planting quite a few new trees in specific areas as they relate to making sure that the views are managed appropriately. So it's something that we just wanted to highlight and make sure that everyone is aware that we're cognizant of that and want to make sure that the views are protected in that location. Next slide, please. Further to what I was mentioning before about upgrades to the Willows golf course itself and the investment that we would like to make within that area, we would also plan in conjunction with this development to make further upgrades to the Willows clubhouse and the amenities that are offered within that area. So in the previous years, we've done a couple smaller updates, one being the pro shop that we've done 2 years ago, and then some small refreshes to the dining room that we've made most recently this year. But what we'd like to do is additional investments within the community and really kind of make the clubhouse be the hub of the community and something that all the residents of the Willows can be proud in. So with that, we'd plan to do some additional upgrades, both aesthetically and functionally within the Willows. Some of the things that we'd be looking at would be the potential of a fitness facility located in conjunction with that, something that would be available to members and residents, and other resident services and rooms specific to the Willows Clubhouse. So we're really looking to build off of the community that we have there and make an amenity package that is great for the existing group and as well as great for the new proposed phase of the Willows as well. Next slide, please. This rendering is really just there just to show how the future homes would look in conjunction with some of the new phases, and what we're really aiming to show here is just how the new phases that we're proposing would fit in with the same style and a complementary form and size to that of the existing Willows, and make sure that it's known that that's a very important part for us. I mentioned some other improvements to the clubhouse and just the amenities around the area in general. And one of the things that did come up a lot previously was the potential for improvements to the dining facilities, and one being the patio. So with this, we plan to make investments again into this area and do a few things to make that view, which I believe is one of the best views of any patio in the city of Saskatoon, that much more pleasant during some of those summer months. So with that, we'd like to increase the wind protection and have some kind of plexiglass barrier that we've kind of see on that rendering. We'd also like to make it a lot more pleasant and provide some additional shade structures, heating opportunities, and something that the Willows residents can really share in and take some value in and enjoy that view. Next slide, please. And finally, just finishing on a rendering of conceptually what the island green would look like. The golf course I mentioned before is very important, and we want to make sure that it is done to a very high quality that we'll all be very proud of, and also something that is economically viable and sustainable, and the maintenance is taken into consideration as well as that. So what we'd be planning on doing is making sure that the character of all of our signature holes is maintained, and we want to do this in a very sustainable manner, such that we can make sure that the Willows thrives for a very, very long time. And with that, I'd like to invite everyone who is watching, if they have any questions or concerns whatsoever, to feel free to contact me at my number or email address at the top right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brad. This concludes our information presentation, and we want to thank you for watching and look forward to hearing from you. We hope that you can join us in January live, where we can continue this conversation. Updated information will be posted on our Engage page at saskatoon.ca/engage.